Welcome, friends, to our Friday's practice titled Yoga for Stress Reduction. So we are basically moving towards the end of the month with practices based around the wood element in traditional Chinese medicine. So for this month, we've concentrated on the yang energy of that element. And basically, it runs from the side of the eye, whizzes around through the head, and then moves through the side body all the way down to the feet. It's called the gallbladder meridian. And really, this element cares about the whole of your being. So what it does is it takes in information, it assesses, and then makes a plan, and then moves in a direction. So it takes an action with the plan. So we're going to use that in class today. I have named this class Overview. So we'll do exactly that. We'll pause, take in some information, choose an action, and then see what comes out of that. Okay, friends, welcome to class. I'm going to meet you on the mat. Let's start in a comfortable seat today. And maybe you gather your props. So we will need a couple of blocks and a strap later on during class. And let's drop right into a present moment practice. Start rubbing your hands together. Okay, so a lot of information goes from your hands and lights up in your brain. So just notice maybe the sound, maybe the texture, take in the information. Okay, now at your own pace, let yourself breathe and then place your hands over your eyes. Relax your head down into your hands. And then go as fast as or as slow as you'd like and take a couple more rounds. Right, coming back into, sensing. And then maybe encouraging yourself to let go, let the head hang heavy in your hands. Right, notice where you feel it in your body. Okay, let's release that practice. And now we're going to come back into the hands for that present moment experience. Interlace all of your fingers and squeeze your hands together, right? Maybe move your fingers around. Okay, now we're going to start to add a mudra and also interact with that gallbladder meridian. Draw your shoulders down by pressing your elbows slightly down, right? So press your elbows down. You'll feel your spine lengthen. And we're going to move into a mudra called Kali Mudra. Let your index fingers come up, touch the pads, and let your thumbs touch together. Right, so this mudra has a lot of qualities to it. The ones that we're going to start with are it reduces stress and anxiety. Right, dispels fear. Take a few breaths here and just notice what is here. And then release your hands down onto your knees and begin to shoulder roll on the left. Right? Take that shoulder back and around. And as you're moving with ease, maybe start to notice the side body, that pathway of that gallbladder meridian. Right, maybe you notice that upper back. Right, take in the information. Okay, let it settle. Come back to that Kali Mudra. So interlace your fingers, index and thumbs up, and then hug your elbows in and down until you can feel those upper trapezius muscles slide downward. Right, engaging the hands helps us hold our focus. Okay, release your hands down onto your legs and then that backward shoulder roll on the other side. Okay, now this shoulder roll, start to think about what's happening at the rib cage. Right, that gallbladder line zigzags down the rib cage. Okay, let's release out of the movement. Come directly to the side body with your knees bent. All right, so maybe you fold a blanket or a pillow. Stack your knees comfortably. All right, so take in the information on the side body. Are you comfortable? And then begin undulating the spine in cat and cow. All right, so feel your way through the movements where you're arching and curling. Okay, release the body into neutral and place your top arm on your chest somewhere. All right, so moving the energy out of the head down towards your heart. And then take the top shoulder and roll it behind you. Go slowly as you ease into a twist. All right, so the pelvis stays pretty stable. And then once you arrive into your twisting shape, begin breathing to the top rib cage. Okay, so as you breathe in, sense that rib cage expanding. And then as you breathe out, start to feel the ribs knit together. So it's a light firming of your abdominals. And then do that a couple of times. Release out of the twist, and then make your way to the other side. Okay, so take in the information. Is your body comfortable? And then begin moving through cat and cow. Okay, release that movement. Drop your top arm somewhere down on your chest or your rib cage, and then begin opening up into a twist for the other side. Right, releasing the energy to push, just taking the action of moving backward without forcing. And then come into that breathing layer. Inhale to expand that top rib cage. As you exhale, just lightly firm your abdominals. You can sense your rib cage moving towards the center. Okay, be curious about the breath in your ribs. Just giving us a little time here to take in the information. Right, taking that hurry and worry out of practice. Okay, let's change the shape, come out of the twist, and then come directly onto your back in constructive rest. Right, pause, check in, maybe put a little propping behind the head. Okay, so the first part of this is to take the overview, right? So, scan your body. Right? Notice the weight of your head, maybe the weight of your shoulders, the weight of your torso and your pelvis. Right? Check in with your feet. Are your feet in neutral? Right? That little triangle of the pad underneath your big toe and the pad underneath your pinky toe and the middle of the heel. Okay, let's start to add that rib cage breathing here. As you inhale, start to expand the space at both sides of the ribs. And then when you begin exhaling, slow it down. Feel your core muscles lightly engage. At the very end of your exhale, press your feet lightly into the earth. Soften all of that muscular action when you begin to breathe again. Inhale, right? Soften, right? So allowing your breath to come in, be curious. Right? Feel yourself as you're breathing out, right? Take your time. At the end of the exhale, right? You give it a little push, right, to access the vagus nerve and to ground down through your legs. Complete one more. Okay, let your arms be relaxed somewhere on your body so that your shoulders let go. Right, so there's no tension at the upper body. I call this on a leg slide. Start to slide your right leg down to the bottom of your mat. So slide the leg down. And this is a somatic movement from Bartiniath. And then slide your heel back in. Right, just notice what it does. And do that maybe 2 more times. Just slide it down. Be curious. Right, breathe naturally. Okay, now we're going to start to change the action. The next time your heel starts to slide in, when it gets close to your pelvis, lift your foot up. All right, so drawing your knee towards your chest, let it go to wherever's comfortable, and then begin again. All right, lower it down, slow it down, open it up. All right, drag it in at your own pace, and then let yourself lift slowly. Right? Notice what the body is doing and how it's organizing. Okay, the next time your knee comes in towards your chest, hug that knee and then begin to circle around. Relax your body. All right, so the pelvis is rocking from side to side a little bit. Both knees are moving. All right, so the big picture here is the body is relaxed. You're rocking from side to side. All right, check in with your breath. Okay, let that foot come down. Let's take a whole body stretch. Slide both feet to the bottom of the mat. Reach your arms comfortably above you. Right, so that gallbladder meridian is a long line. Right, it thinks about the whole. Right, so take in the whole picture here. Right, lots of space. And then once again, drag both heels in. Let your arms rest down by your sides. Right, those shoulders relax, so let your arms grow heavy. And then let's begin that heel slide on the left. Right, just be curious. Right, take in the information. Is it smooth? Does it stutter? Does it get stuck? Does it open up all the way? And so taking in information. Okay, so we're going to start to add on to the plan. The next time that your heel slides in, lift your foot in your knee, draw your knee towards your chest. Notice the difference from this side, and then lower it down and repeat. Okay, the next time that knee comes in, give it a hug and then start to circle it around as you rock your body. Moving in a relaxed way. Okay, one more time. Let that foot come down. Open the whole body. So slide your feet down, reach your arms, create some space. Right, what do you notice? Okay, now drag your heels back in, drop your arms down. And then once again, take that moment to scan your body. Right? Notice the neck, the upper back, right? That upper back, the lower back, the pelvis, the bottoms of your feet. Place your feet into neutral. One of these days, my right foot will end up in neutral. It's always rolled out to that right-hand side. And just notice what's here. And then let's come back to that rib cage breathing with the light foot press at the end of the exhale. Okay, just begin. Expand when it feels right. Encourage yourself to slow the exhale down and then use the foot press to empty out, right? To hollow out. Okay, two more. Okay, once you complete, just scan and notice what's here. I'm going to use this little pause in between the next movements. So we're not going to rush through. If it, if it feels slow, it's because it is. You're going to drop your knees down out to the side slowly. So just maybe roll to the edges, the outer edges of your feet. Right? Not trying to make a big butterfly, but finding a place where it's comfortable and manageable, where the pelvis stays in neutral. Okay, we're going to use a stair-stepping exhale, maybe 3 or 4, depending on the length of your exhale, to bring the legs back into standing. Okay, take a breath in, exhale a little bit, move your knees a little bit, pause, exhale a little bit more, move your knees a little bit more, pause, complete the exhale. Let your knees stand into neutral. Press your feet down at the end of it. And then take a relaxed breath here. Right? So stillness, no movement. And then notice after that action what's here. Okay, let's set up again. Inhale, let the knees drift comfortably out to the sides, outer edges of the feet. Exhale a little, move your knees a little, pause. A little bit more, pause. Last one to finish. Press your feet. Relax your legs, breathe here naturally. Notice the supple changes of energy in your body. Okay, we're going to go through 2 more rounds. Guide yourself through. Begin when you're ready. Give yourself a moment to take in the information. What do you notice? Okay, slide your right leg down to the bottom of the mat. Squeeze on that right leg a moment. Just energize that leg. Right? Feel what's happening in the buttock area, maybe your hip flexor. And then release that action for a moment. We're going to come back to it. Interlace your hands behind your head. We're just going to take one round of a variation of a psoas release. So start to energize that right leg a little bit. Right? Feel what's happening, particularly at the buttock. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, lift your head and your chest straight up towards the ceiling. Okay, just make sure you're breathing here. And lower it down. Let your elbows come down. Drag that right heel in. Slide that left leg out. Okay, squeeze on that left leg, right, particularly at the back of the pelvis, the buttock, your gluteal muscles. Right, can you sense your body shifting around a little bit? Right, take in that information. And then relax. Okay, let's start to set it up. Engage those leg muscles on the left. All right, so engage the left muscles. Take a breath in. All right, exhale to lift your head and your upper back. And then breathe here lightly. All right, what do you notice? Okay, ease it down, release your hands, drag that heel in, and then grab a hold of the strap. Let's start with the strap on the right foot. Right, moving into that hamstring stretch, so leg towards the ceiling. Okay, let's take in some information here, right? Circle your foot around a little bit, right? Just take a little circle. Right, notice where the sensation starts to get a little louder, and then maybe pause in that spot where it gets a little bit louder. Right, notice what happens to your breathing when the sensation is a little stronger. Right, encourage yourself to breathe. Okay, notice if the sensation has gone a little quieter. See if you can start to draw your toes towards your head just a little bit. Right, maybe the sensation gets a little bit louder again. Right, so this idea that the information changes moment to moment. Right, everything changes. Right, so we welcome it in, we notice what it is, we pause with it, and then maybe we take that action to settle ourselves a little bit. Okay, release the strap, let the leg come all the way down. Interlace your hands behind your head. So we're going to adapt the plan maybe. If you like that leg squeeze and that's appropriate for your body, you're going to stay in that same variation that we did before. Or maybe you engage that right leg and hover it over the mat just a few inches. Okay, the next time you exhale, add that upper body, lift your chest, your shoulders, your head. Make sure you're breathing. Okay, ease it on down. Relax your arms. Slide that leg in. And then let's have the hamstring stretch on the other side. Okay, start to circle maybe your heel around. Maybe you use that as your anchor. Right, just a little tiny circle. And then notice, where does the sensation get, get strong or get a little louder? Okay, now pause where it's singing the most. Pause there. Notice how you're breathing when you meet that challenge edge. Right, soften your breath. Okay, notice, has it shifted? If it's shifted, maybe you draw your toe a little closer to your head until it sings a little bit more. All right, so not trying to overwhelm here, but to meet the strong sensation. Okay, let's release the strap, lower the leg down. Okay, choose your plan, choose your leg. Interlace your hands, place them behind your head. Okay, is leg lowered or lifted? Lift your upper body. Can you relax into your strength here? Right? Can you feel the strength of your whole body with relative ease? Right? So we're not trying to muscle up, but we're using our strength in a relaxed way. Okay, lower down, roll to your belly. We're going to move into a sphinx shape. Okay, now once you have found your sphinx shape, turn to look over your left shoulder. Right, so turn to look over your left shoulder. Right, notice what's to the left of you. Take a breath. Right, so this exercise comes out of Stanley Rosenberg's Accessing the Vagus Nerve. He calls it the SCM exercise. Okay, come back through the center, moving back in through your sphinx, and then over to the other side. And turn to look over and see what's over on the right-hand side. Notice how you're breathing. Okay, come back through the center. And then let's decompress the spine in child's pose. Right, maybe reaching the right arm forward, drawing the right ribs out to the side a little bit. That side line of that gallbladder meridian. Okay, come back through the center, reach your left arm, and then draw your left ribs out to the side. Right, drawing your attention in toward the side of the body. And so that gallbladder meridian likes to hang out in the head. It's an overthinker, maybe an overplanner. But in order to take an action, we've got to come out of the head and into the body. Okay, come back into neutral. Grab a hold of those two blocks. And then let's have a leg stretch here. Right, maybe just start on a leg that feels comfortable to you. Just step one leg forward, moving into that lunge shape. Right, so start to ease the body downward. And then allow the head to move downward with gravity. Right, stretching out the back of the neck. And give yourself some time. Right, take in the sensation of the body. Okay, take that front leg back. And then drop right into the other side. Okay, once you've set the shape up, once you've taken that action, allow yourself to soften downward. All right, see if you can let go just a little bit. Right, stress and tension arise from that holding on energy. All right, so take an action and then let go. Okay, let's ease off of this shape. Walk the blocks to you. Bring them close to your body. Okay, turn your toes under. We're going to use a slow transition to standing here. Push your hands into the blocks, lift your knees, and send your heels back towards the mat. So you're in this almost like a downward facing dog forward fold shape. And then start to walk your hands in closer to your body. Okay, now here from this shape, can you sway a little bit? All right, so can you sway side to side a little bit? Right, notice how your body moves. Right, take an action that allows it to feel good. Right, maybe let your head hang a little bit more. Maybe you linger in a spot or two. Okay, start to sink your feet. Come into the center, sink your feet. Press down through your legs. Curl your chin into your chest as you start to anchor your legs and lift your upper body. Right, press through your legs. Pelvis grows heavy. Right, moving your body upward. And then once you arrive in standing, come back to that one-sided shoulder roll, right? So just do one side a couple of times. And the other side. Release the movement. Step your legs a little bit wide. Maybe turn your toes out. And then sink downward into your feet. So moving into goddess pose or a steady, comfortable posture. Right, so start to press through your feet. Feel your legs lightly engage. Right, so moving the energy downward. We're going to release the energy upward. Right, so slide your hands behind your legs. Right, some of you can grab a hold of your fingers or your wrists. Right, just find your comfortable place. Okay, and at any time, if you want to come out of your legs, allow yourself to adjust the plan as we drop the right ear down towards the right shoulder. Okay, go slow. Use your eyes and look down at the floor. All right, so we're opening the pathway between the head and the body. Notice how you're breathing. Let your head come back into neutral. Right, so option to come out of your legs, or if you like the challenge of your legs, you can stay here as we find the other side. All right, be curious. Where's the sensation in the upper body? Notice how you're breathing. Okay, let your head come back into neutral. Release your arms and drop your hands down onto your leg bones as you slide your tailbone back. Right, so upper body here is propped with your arm bones. And then we're going to begin twisting the shoulders. Right, so you kind of have to feel your way through this one. Just draw one shoulder forward. Right, pause there, noticing the back of the ribs, that pathway, and then moving to the other side. Right, you stay as long as you like, you move as fast or slow as you like, just adapting the plan so that it's comfortable and feels good. Okay, come back through the center, press through your legs, press through your feet, come all the way up. This time, draw your feet into the midline. So you're in mountain pose. And then let's come back to the mudra. So interlace all your fingers and squeeze on your hands. Right? That will draw your brain into the sensation, that present moment. Okay, Kali Mudra, index fingers up, maybe thumbs touching. Draw your shoulders down. Take a breath here. Okay, now shift the weight over into your right leg and then open up the leg on the left, moving into a tree shape. Right, maybe foot comes to the other leg. Right, having a leg to stand on, keep pressing downward through that standing leg. Right, maybe you can sense your elbows hugging in near your rib cage. Okay, release, step a little bit wide, drop into your legs, drop your hands down onto your legs, and then once again, find that little twisting movement. All right, so body's starting to let go of that holding energy. Okay, come back into the center, back to the top. Once again, come into steady mountain. Return to that mudra. So this mudra has a lot of qualities to it, that reducing the stress, anxiety, and fear. But it's also a mudra for courage and confidence. Right? So Kali is a goddess and she's known as the destroyer. I think that's super interesting. Okay, let's take that confident balance over to the other side. Right, so shift into the left leg, open up. Feel that long line as you ease into your tree pose. All right, so keep pushing downward with the standing leg. All right, so hip, knee, and ankle are relatively in one line. Okay, once again, step a little wide, release the pose, drop down into your legs. This time, use your hands to run down the leg into a comfortable forward fold. All right, you decide where your forward fold goes to. Breathe. Let's take this shape directly down onto the mat. And then once you move into constructive rest, pause there. Sink your attention into your feet. All right, so feet are in neutral. Begin pressing your feet lightly into the mat. Send your knees forward, lift your pelvis, and ease the body into a bridge pose. Okay, sense your feet. Start to lower your pelvis. Draw both knees into your chest. And then rock your body from side to side, right? So roll all the way over onto one side and then all the way over to the other side. Give it less effort. Right? Trust that the body will figure out how to get there. Okay, the next time you roll into center, just pause with your knees into your chest. And now let's start to find that last posture of class, that resting pose. All right, so find that open shape. Take a little bit of support. And then begin scanning the whole body. And so noticing the weight at the back of the head, the back of the shoulders, the weight of the pelvis. Let your arms and legs grow heavy. Turn your attention to breathing up and down the right side body. Right, so maybe from the foot to the head. And then take that plan over to the left. Just breathing up and down that left side body. Just turn your attention to gravity, feeling the pull of gravity. And see if you can release any effort that's still here, letting go just a little bit more as you rest. Welcome your breath into your body, maybe a little bit of movement or that full body stretch. Notice how you feel. And then if you'd like to join me with closing class with 3 chants of Om, come to a tall seat. Prepare. Om. 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 The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.